It's a pleasure to be here. I'm president of SAMSOG, Surveying and Mapping Society of Georgia. And I'm also an assistant professor at Middle Georgia College. To begin with, I want to talk a little bit about the definition of surveying. And to do that, we have to think about the application of math, physics, and sciences, and also law. And we think about the tradition that surveyors have in George Washington. It's a great tradition, and we're continuing that in Georgia. And if you're interested in George Washington, you can look at the Maps of Our Lives site at the Library of Congress website. Some of the earlier surveyors in Georgia carried forth the same principles and values that the beginning surveyors did, and some of those are Young and DeBrom, and they did some of the original mapping of the state of Georgia, which surveyors have to be aware of. We follow these mapping, and part of the mapping process requires that we be outside, and that's one of the hallmarks of a surveyor is the fact that he has to be outside. And we typically love being outside, but we have to be familiar with the evidence on the ground, and that's what makes us a little bit different from other geospatial orientations. In the early development of the state, there were a lot of maps developed, and it was a difficult process because the boundaries of the state were evolving as time went on. So the surveyors had to keep up with that. We finally got the overall state boundary set, and then we had to deal with head rights, the regular land lots, and the goal land lots. So we have to define the state in three different ways depending on where you are. Okay, the surveyor has always been a steward for the property owner, and the emphasis there has been the single property owner evolving to the subdivision of properties. And you see that the smaller properties get emphasis, and you can see the amount of detail that a surveyor has to go through to adequately describe a piece of property in conjunction with all the laws that are required, the city ordinances, the county ordinances, and those types of things. And so as time goes on, we have to improve our technology. And we have to go through what we call the technology chase. And I'm sure all of you are familiar with that. You've had to buy new cell phones and new computers. Well, the surveyors have to do the same thing. We've gone from compasses to theodolites to lasers to web-based GPS in real time. And so with the evolution of technology, we've had the evolution of the media. And you can't see this very well, but this is a vector-based drawing, and it's tied in with this raster-based drawing. And the raster world is new to the surveyors, relatively new. We've had photogrammetry for a number of years, but we haven't really used it the same way the GIS people use it. So what benefits surveyors as far as GIS is concerned? Well, first of all, we have stronger access to information. We'd have quicker and more accurate survey beginning points. In other words, we don't have to rummage through all the courthouse and everything to provide that. How do the surveyors create a safer Georgia? Well, we provide good as-built information to DOT so that they can make their road tie-ins, and they just have better base maps to use. So the surveyors are typically involved with DOT at a lot of different levels. And in conjunction with the database information that surveyors can provide in terms of as-builts, the higher the quality, the better the technology that we can use, the better product that we have for the Department of Transportation. So we create a better and safer Georgia. And in Georgia, we're fortunate in that we have education possibilities in terms of what we do as surveyors in geospatial orientation, as well as the design type applications that surveyors are qualified to do. So it's a dynamic environment, and we do have surveyors in the classroom. Southern Poly has a 4-year degree in surveying, and Middle Georgia provides a certificate that meets the education requirements to become a licensed surveyor in the state of Georgia. So we have access to these people, and we teach our courses online. Another aspect that helps the state remain pollution-free in terms of what the surveyors can do, the surveyors are familiar with sediment erosion control. So we are always in the field, as I said earlier, and we're observing these things, and we can help reduce those things. Another thing that surveyors do to help Georgia, we provide better information for DOT to do improvement projects for infrastructure. And that's where we typically are with infrastructure. We're not building a ton of new infrastructure, but we're having to learn how to maintain our existing infrastructure. And another application that surveyors use quite often are the web soil survey. And this is another geospatial application that's very useful for surveyors. So we have access to these types of applications, and we typically use them in our everyday work. Okay, and another application, we have best management practices, and we're providing databases so that we can design new road improvements within existing neighborhoods. So we provide good tie-in information. So in a nutshell, we say that in Georgia, surveying not only means boundary surveying, but it means mapping the entire property and providing data that's useful, for the entire design community and the geospatial community. So with that, that's the end of my presentation, and thank you very much.